You know what time it is. It's 9 to 5 with Gavin and Mike. In this deep dive, you'll learn how planning and habits can really help improve your self-care routine. But before we get into it, drop the intro.
Konnichiwa. My name is Gavin Masumiya.
Nice to see ya.
I'm a mindset coach based out of West LA.
And I'm Mike Aheirwe.
You hear me?
I'm a Transformational Life Coach from London.
These recordings are short, sharp, sweet snippets of insight for anybody hustling a 9 to 5.
That's right, you can tune into them on your way to work, on your lunch break, or on your way home after a long day's hustle. Self-service. Right off the bat, what the hell do you mean by self-service?
Service, y'all, if you see the definition, the noun is it's the action of helping or doing work for someone. And we tend to think about service, it's service for other people. Right? And this is just very top of mind because I gave a workshop over the weekend and I led it with my friend. It was amazing. It was in Oakland area. And I was in full service towards him, man. At the expense of my sleep. I didn't get a lot of sleep. We were just working long days on Friday and Saturday, just nonstop. I forgot my piss was yellow, bro, And so you can probably get where I'm getting at now with self-service is like even when in service is for other people, it's serving ourselves. It's Tuesday now, man. That workshop took place on Saturday. And then I got back on Monday and everything. I fly back, but man, I just wasn't taking care of myself, man. And so I'm not at 100% right now. And it's just, so now today I'm going to be doing intermittent fasting today, from a 16 to 18 hour window, and just stay super hydrated.
No doubt. I'll cheers to that.
There so it's about helping ourselves do this work. And it's one of the it's been a process for me in continually honoring that.
Yeah.
Especially
okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm just gonna ask, how do you balance that then? So when you are aware that you have an obligation that you've committed to do for someone else or some other people, yet you feel like you could do more for yourself, how do you balance that?
I think the balance is just a very interesting word, right? What is that? What does that even fucking mean, man? Balance mean 50-50? You mean 55-45? It's people expecting to have this little 50-50 thing. And so I think that our balance it just changes over time, And I liken it to that interview I saw yesterday where even Lala said and the previous video, you want to watch that video on priorities, y'all. It's just when you're in something like this week, last week was more about mindful masculinity, the workshop, than actual one-on-one and coaching. It was really the setting the stone and the paving the way for this mindful masculinity workshop in Oakland. And so that was my priority, Another thing that comes to mind, and so I'm just talking this through, is that there's, once again, it goes back to we all have the same amount of time in sense of 24 hours, So I got back yesterday and I spent time with my aunties and then I took a freaking nap, dude. I was so exhausted right there. Me, in a way that was me honoring that I just needed that. I needed that rest to recover more.
So there's a process of listening to your body and doing what's right for your body. But you're saying that on the weekend, the focus is very much on mindful masculinity. So does that mean that if you've committed to an obligation, yet you feel sort of not 100% that the balance shifts according to what you've got going on?
Well, it did. For me, it was a lack of planning on my side, right? Okay. So waking up, creating dead stops. If we wanted to have a dead stop, all right, Umang, that was my business partner for the workshop. Here, we're going to crank off and it's official, 11:30 p.m. we stop. So just to let you know, because I showed up at 11 a.m. You know, I showed up at 11 a.m. And so it's like, okay, 11, that's 12 and a half hours, bro. We have 12 and a half hours to crank shit out. And then we'll go to sleep. You know, like after we're done, we're not going to talk about the work and stuff. Let's just recover. Let's just go to sleep. And because we're going to wake up at 6:30 the next day, you know? And so I didn't set these boundaries around it. And even honoring my morning ritual in the morning. What we could have done also is to pick up like healthier foods for the morning. And so I could have eaten it right when I've gotten up, you know.
Right.
And so it's the planning, man. It's the planning for the self-care, because otherwise it's just I get caught up in the winds of the day, the not the WINS, the WINDS, you know, the winds, dude, that comes through, and we'll find a way to I'll find a way to take up that time that may not be very self-care time, you know. So it comes back to the planning, like planning self-care, scheduling the self-care, and I didn't do it over the weekend. And that's pretty, you know, that's pretty unlike me to do that. It wasn't a new place, so I'm learning to be a little more compassionate around it, and not making myself wrong that I had a veggie burrito at 10:30 p.m. on Friday, like, you know, because we forgot to eat the whole day pretty much.
Right. Interesting. Okay, so this element of planning then comes into play in terms of like, it's almost like you're anticipating that you know, you're anticipating the things that you're going to need. Like we all know you need sleep, right? We all know you need food, and sometimes some of us are good at planning our meals, for example, and even preparing our meals before we get hungry, because we know we're going to get hungry. So when lunchtime comes around, we've got that sandwich there already made, or we've got that meal already prepared. So I suppose what I'm hearing here is extending that anticipation to other areas in your life, whether it's diet or rest, regeneration, and just having things in place ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of actually a Kaiser Permanente study in the power of habit. I don't think we discussed that, at least on the video. There was a study, I think there's 1,800 participants that was a part of it, and they were tasked with one thing in the study. And do you know the study?
I'm not familiar.
Oh, and the study was that for one day out of the week, the participants are asked to write down what they ate and what time they ate.
Oh yeah. Okay.
For the whole day, right? And then it was a longitudinal study. I forgot for how long they followed these people for in the survey. But what they concluded at the end is that those men and women who decided to start turning that into a daily habit, where they write what they ate and what time they ate every day, they lost twice as much weight as those who didn't. And remember, like the only thing that they were asked to do was to write one day out of the week. They weren't given a health regimen plan. They weren't told like workout regimens, none of that stuff. It was just this habit. And why I bring that up is because what it did for some of the people, let's just say for Mary, right? Let's say Mary was one of the participants. When she was tracking her food, she realized that as she was tracking it at 10 a.m., she got hungry, and that at work there's a cafeteria and she has her favorite jalapeno kettle chips that she always buys there. And she just noticed that there's a pattern. Like we're pretty good as human beings to recognize patterns generally. And so she's like, okay, 10 o'clock. And so what did she do? She put a red apple in her bag. She planned that, and she put a red apple in the bag. And so that's what I lacked this weekend. I didn't do that little planning piece right there. And there are studies that show that, yeah, when we can plan, you know, and when we track, when we are able to, a life worth living is worth recording, life worth living is worth tracking, you know.
So just go back to that. So finish up and I'll.
No. It's just like, you know, being able to kind of track in a way of like scheduling time to track things down. So I didn't schedule my my self-care over the weekend.
I was just going to ask about that story just to wrap it up, just to make sure I've understood. So in this example where this lady was eating the jalapeno kettle chips and she was writing down what she was eating, and then she switched over to the apple. What caused her to switch over from the chips to the apple?
I don't know. I don't know what it said in the study. Like, if I was to imagine myself, like, for her to participate in that study, right?
Yeah.
To participate in the study, there was some type of motivation, whether it was a financial incentive, there probably was. And my educated guess is that there was something, maybe she might have felt like tracking food will help me to lose weight in some shape or form, right?
Okay.
So I think there was like a motivation, or she might have had something around her weight that she's wanted to transform. That's my guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but it also brings to mind that, you know, like there's like a level of self-awareness there, because once you start tracking what you're eating, it's like you have to now be mindful consciously of what you're consuming. And it sounds like that's a good exercise for bringing awareness of how you are looking after your body. So in that example, it was about the food that she consumed, and she made a decision because she was aware of what she was eating. Maybe this time she wants to eat an apple instead of kettle chips. So in the case of you doing this workshop over the weekend, bringing awareness to what you're doing in the moment might help you decide, okay, cool, like I've had this amount of sleep relative to what I'm used to, maybe I need more, or I've had this much food, what's going on, I need to start eating. So I think
like some things that just come to mind for me upon reflection. Reflection is very powerful, right? We just think of like, how could we have made this better, or how can I have implanted more opportunities for self-care, is that, you know, even using like Pomodoro, right? It's just like, all right, Umang, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna set this timer for 45 minutes, bro. Let's freaking brainstorm right here. And the timer, like we do, timer starts now. Yo,
right.
so what we're going to do is it sets that little pressure. And then after the 45 minutes, we're going to have a release tension break, right? Brendan Burchard talks about this. He says there's two things that he does throughout the day. He releases tension. And so whether that looks like, or whether it looks like, or whether it looks like going for a walk, going just to have a sip of water, and just to imagine that the water's flowing into his heart space and is cleansing it from the center out, you know. And then the next one is to set an intention, right? And so using that, like, that was something that we could have done. Like, the set intention is that self-care. I mean, release tension is the self-care part, and then set intention is to get back into the deep work. And so that's something that I'm already imagining have been very possible inside of that yoga studio room, is just being very clear with him. Like, I'm gonna set this timer, bro, right here. We got 45 minutes. What is the goal for these 45 minutes? And after, let's take a 5-minute break and really release tension. And maybe I'm gonna do a meditation, or I'm gonna get some water and stuff. So we scheduled that, you know. So that would have been something that I'd see as something that as an option, right? To have done that.
For sure, man. It's so important, man. It's so important, and scheduling really helps with that as well. Like, anticipating what you think you might need, and then scheduling time in for that is super important. And what comes to my mind when you mention scheduling time in is like my meditation practice. Now, I've got to a stage now where, as of today, I am on. Today will be day 250 meditation in a row consecutively, right? But I haven't like I feel pumped for that. Like, that's my rock when it comes to like self-care. That's the number one practice that I do now. But it's got to a stage now where I'm so habitually used to it that if I don't schedule it in, if I end up in bed at night, I'll be like, right, something's missing, I haven't done something. Or like, if I'm at home and I'm like, it's late at night, I'm like, right, something's missing, I haven't done something. So it's got to that point now where I'm so used to it. But at the beginning, I had to make sure I did it in the morning every day for a long period of time, for like maybe like 100 days or so, until it became a habit and a routine. So, and I had to schedule that in. And before doing this long consecutive run, I began to anticipate that if I don't meditate, that I will be more reactive to things, right? And I'll go through bouts where I'm not meditating and I'm reacting to things. I'm getting upset by things. I'm not as patient. And so I decided that this is a very important self-service habit that I need to cultivate. And so now meditating sort of helps me to I won't say anticipate times when I might need the the benefits of meditation, but it allows me to sort of better deal with those things when they arise. It's sort of like drinking water before you become dehydrated and get a headache, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of like doing that first. And
I love that, man. Did you see that?
Right?
Yeah. Do you see that conversation I have with Umang around the mindful masculinity? It's like I said that meditation is like the pre-work, man. It's the pre-work for that shit that happens in the future when you spill that coffee on the floor. You know, it's like you're building up the habit of meditating, not, you know, it's so like from that place you're just honoring the silent space. And it was actually really cool. Mike, what happened on the Thursday night before I had caught my flight on Friday morning to go to Oakland's, I went to the gym, late night gym, and then my car's parked like the outside of the premises because it's free after 6 p.m. So I'm walking back. It's pretty late. It's like 11:30. And then, you know, Adwala, like Adwala juice. Anyway, it's like a naked juice, you know, it's like a brand. And there was one that's open, and I kicked it, and I was wearing sandals, and the juice got all over my freaking right foot and in the sandal, like inside and stuff, you know. And I don't know how long it was there. You know, it's like juice. And I don't know what.
Who knows what it is?
I don't know what it was, man. And you know, my reaction was just like, oh man. And I haven't been doing it consecutively like you know. I meditate like regularly though, you know, maybe 5 to 6 times a week. I miss some days here or there, and then it showed right here. So I looked at my foot, man, and I'm just like, oh man. And then my car was open. So, and then the first thought that came to mind is, after the all man, do I have napkins? Right? And then I was like, oh, I got napkins in my glove compartment, right? From the restaurant that I went to like the week before. And so I pulled it out, the brown napkins, and I just started wiping it like, and then, you know, I had moments like this before with spilling coffee and stuff. And I looked out, and then I'm like, oh, hey, that was pretty cool. You know, like I had this small reaction like, oh man. And then immediately, rather than getting stuck in that, I just found what was the next thing to do to just get this out so I can go home and sleep and get ready for my flight, you know? And so that meditation has all been pre-worked for shit like that to happen, you know, when shit like that happens.
Right, for sure. So like, yeah, man. So like self-care is this thing that we can cultivate for ourselves that requires, as we've pointed out in this conversation, like a bit of anticipation and perhaps some scheduling as well, you know. So it's not limited to just food and sleep and anticipating you're going to get tired and anticipating you're going to get hungry and scheduling timing for those things, but it's also thinking about all the things that, you know, you might need, which for Gavin and I happens to be mindfulness and cultivating a mindfulness practice, which for us is meditation. So just to make this practical for people, like what are some things that you would advise for people to do, Gavin, in terms of upping their self-service game?
Yeah, so that upping that self-service game is taking that page that in retrospect would have really benefited me over the weekend, which is those 2 steps of release tension and set intention. Okay, so if we all want to learn more about it, you can learn Brendan Burchard in his high performance habits, you know, and you know, setting a time, like just knowing that, okay, I'm gonna whatever it is that you have throughout the day, you have work, is scheduling. Okay, 11 o'clock, you know, 11 o'clock will just be a quick 4-minute break. I'm gonna release tension there. Let's go outside. I'm gonna get some sun. Maybe I'll do like a quick power pose. You just anticipate that, you know. And instead of reaching for like a cup of coffee, go outside and go for a walk. And so that's a way of like releasing tension. I like to, back when I was working over the, you know, and I was in the office, and then I had to go in the office sometimes, instead of being out in the field, I would go into the bathroom. And then I would go into the stall, like the handicap stall, for a minute, and I didn't have to take a shit or anything. And I would just like do this. And that was my way of releasing tension before I knew this like 2-step process. And then setting the intention afterwards. It's like after you get back, it's just like, okay, what is my intention for the next hour and a half before I take another break, you know, before I release tension again. And then it just streamlines everything. It creates that little pressure to create a container for being like not getting distracted, like putting on Facebook to check the news feed and stuff. It's just like, this is a 45 minutes, you know? So release tension and then set intention and just repeat that process throughout the day. And maybe last one is schedule gratitude. Maybe during one of the release tensions is just ask yourself the questions like, what am I grateful for? What can I be grateful for? And then just start to stack them up. Like, I'm grateful for that I get to connect with you, Mike, you know, after coming back, and we get to do these weekly videos, dude. It's freaking awesome. And it was through Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, we never met in person. And much like with Umang that I did the workshop with, I never met him. That was the first time I met him on that Friday. And so I had these jitters, like, would it work? Would it not? And dude, it's 1 + 1 = 4 that over the weekend, man. Like, it's just amazing, man. So yeah, make sure that when you release tension, take time to schedule gratitude at least once a day with the simple question of, what can I be grateful for? What am I grateful for? Who am I grateful for? Foster that. Yeah. And I'll end it with this final quote, is that, I forgot if it was Lao Tzu. You might be able to correct me, but there's a quote that really resonated with me, and it was that some say that joy is the reason to be grateful, when it is gratitude that makes us joyful. So schedule gratitude, y'all. With that being said, boom.
Guys, as ever, thank you so much for tuning in. If you got value and did 9 to 5 with Gavin and Mike, be sure to like,
comment,
subscribe.
And wherever you are in the world right now, good morning,
good evening,
good night.